So all the plants had to be really low maintenance, really colourful, have a long flowering period, and for impact I've just grown most of them in simple rows just so you've got that big burst of colour. Here's the first row. It's a row of white rain lilies. They're really nice, they'll multiply, and so I have masses of flowers every time it rains with this type. The next row is a row of euphorbias, a nice pink one. It's a pretty robust one, this one. It's grown in, this is actually part shade. Then the bed of hippeastrums, and this is what they were like when they were flowering. These are all grown from seed. There's really a wide range of colours here. This is a really big tall one, some are a little bit shorter, but most of them actually are reasonably good colours. Patch of orange impatiens there that are still growing, some pink canna lilies. And then look, coming around the front, there's a row of bottle palms. There's 3 bottle palms here, not a row, and they're actually quite amazing. When I first planted them, you could actually see them from space. Underneath the tree here, there's actually a grass that looks like moss when it gets going. Here's one of the local native birds. It's called a bushstone curlew. They pretend you can't see them. They just stand dead still, motionless like that. Rather amazing. Row of blue agapanthus. These are all grown from seed. They took me about 3 years to grow. Darned easy. And then there's the start of my orchid collection. These are a vanda type orchid called Papilionandas, and they'll grow in full sun, or they tolerate full sun. There's a really wide mix of colours, a whole lot of different varieties. As you can see, I put the names on all the plants in the video. These are only just started to flower now. They've been in about 6 months or so. So after about a year, they'll start putting out more flowers, and I'll have a really big mass display. The colours can be quite amazing. There's a real variation. At the moment I've got a lot of pink coloured ones, but I've also got white ones and pale ones. So I'm really looking forward to when they're all flowering. They'll eventually grow to the tops of these stakes, and I can actually multiply them off by cutting them up. Down the back behind the vanda bed, and this is a row of penstemons. It's called penstemon czar. It's a nice purple one with a nice white throat. They also attract the bees. You can see here there's actually a bee buzzing this one. I'll take you back round to the front street. You can see there's more vanda beds there. In this bed I've grown a dwarf lavender called Miss Muffet. It should create a nice impact with its dark purple flowers and silver grey foliage. It'll eventually spread to fill up that gap. So from the front of the house I've grown this red geranium called Big Red. It's amazing geranium. It just flowers all year round. I haven't trimmed or touched these plants, and they've been growing like that for 6 months. Also for the impact, you saw I had a row of blue agapanthus to sort of create some nice stunning effect to go up the steps. Then there's a row of society garlic. I got this from the community garden. Really easy to grow, and it's just slowly multiplying up. The next row of daylilies. This is a real common one. I got it from a friend years ago, and I've multiplied it up. Then there's another row of pelargonium, a white pelargonium. It's not as profusely flowering as the red geranium, and I've got to deadhead this one to keep it flowering. Then I've got a row of, this is a little bit more reddy pink canna. I grew it from seed. I grew a whole lot from seed, and this one came up and I've multiplied it up. Another penstemon called penstemon osprey. It's a nice pale pink colour, and I think they'll look better when they bush up. The other side of the garden, I've got a big row here of gaillardias that go around the corner. These are a really nice old-fashioned flower. I can remember these in my grandmother's house when I was a kid, a bloody long time ago. So they attract the bees, and I really quite like them. Next to them I've planted a row of coreopsis. This is a semi-double form. It grows wild around here in the single form, but this semi-double looks pretty spectacular, and again it attracts the bees. And it seems to flower. It's been flowering for 6 months now. so it's pretty good. I think the warmer climate here helps with that. Dianthus cross, it just keeps flowering. When the flowers die, I just chop it off with a pair of grass clippers and up it shoots again. This big old gardenia came with the house. It's absolutely magnificent when it flowers each year. I prune it back heavily each year. Over in the corner here under the shade is a compact orange impatiens. And there's another bed of vandas here. And there's some cordyline in the back. This is one I grew from seed. It actually has a red berry, so you just plant the berries direct and they grow in the end. And more of the hippeastrums. I actually think I planted over 1,000 seedlings. So far, about 40% of them might have flowered. And they're amazing colours, just amazing. Some native bees on this hippeastrum. You can actually see the pollen on their legs. The hippeastrums here, they were all bred from a friend's plants. He had all these different colours, and then I've crisscrossed them all, collected the seeds, and this is what I got. So I'm pretty happy with the result. This end of the garden flowered really well this year, so if the rest of it flowers like this next year, it'll be amazing. Here's a row of ground orchids. This is a Spathlogotis. It's called mellow yellow. It actually has got a slightly bigger flower than a lot of them, and it flowers quite profusely. In a couple of years' time, it'll have like about a dozen spikes per plant. It's only just starting to flower now. Another bed of orchids. These are more Aranda type orchids. They've got a wider leaf than the other ones you saw. They like a little bit less sun. And they've got a really amazing range of colours, lots of spots on these ones from the parentage. Some are big, some are small. This is a little small one, this is a huge one, this is over 6 foot tall. I've had to tie up the flower, it produced so many flowers. And I love this lilac one, I wish I knew the name. But anyway, I'll be multiplying it up. In the rest of the backyard, I've just got a row of geraniums and another row of rain lilies. Out the front here, here's the view from the veranda. So this is what you get, it's quite spectacular. This was in late spring when everything was in full flower. Walking down the steps. Just love this red geranium. Well, that's the end of the garden tour today. So I hope you liked it. Please give me a thumbs up and I'll be happy to answer any comments you might have on the garden.